and Twitter is trying to claim that verification isn't some kind of endorsement. Well, hold on, Twitter. There seems to be some confusion here. I remember Milo Yiannopoulos was verified on Twitter at one point, and they removed his verification. How's it going, everybody? There was a story from several days ago where Jason Kessler, one of the organizers of Unite the Right, got verified on Twitter, and this led to a huge uproar among many journalists and celebrities. Apparently, this verification caused some controversy. The people on the left were saying that Kessler is a neo-Nazi who organized a rally in which someone was killed, and verification is an endorsement of these ideas. They complained that Jason Kessler should not be on Twitter, because he did tweet things like Heather Heyer was a fat pig, calling her a communist, complaining about communism, and we all know that Twitter verification is a badge of honor, credibility, and endorsement from Twitter. Now, I think it's important to note that other people associated with Unite the Right or with white nationalism and the alt-right were also verified. Richard Spencer, for instance, is verified. And I did do a video almost a year ago where many accounts, hundreds even, that were associated with the alt-right were banned, in which case Richard Spencer was also banned and had his account reinstated. So this is an interesting phenomenon, but let's talk about what Twitter verification really is. How do you get Twitter verified? And I'm going to start by telling you all a story of my own personal journey into Twitter credibility and verification. Now, a long time ago, there was an incident at the No NATO protests in Chicago. Several young men were charged with terrorism because police found beer-making equipment in their apartment. Now, I went to the courthouse when they were doing the bond hearing, the bail hearing, whatever you call it. And as soon as they made the announcement, I ran outside and I tweeted, breaking news, this is what the bond is set at for these activists. This tweet got a lot of attention because I was the first person out of the courtroom to have my phone and tweet out this breaking news. I was not verified at the time. And many people started sharing this tweet, started retweeting saying, is this true? Can anyone confirm this? At the time, I had maybe 15 or 20,000 Twitter followers. And I was well known in certain circles of journalism. I had been featured in magazines, at this point, I hadn't won any awards or anything like that. But without Twitter verification, the immediate question was, is this true? And that was unfortunate because here I am, doing hard work and being at many of these events and breaking this news. But without Twitter verification, many people just didn't believe it. Well, over time, many activists and people on the left started getting angry, saying, what qualifies a person for Twitter verification? If Tim Pool can be featured in magazines, on TV, and win awards and still isn't verified, then what does it take to be verified? Because certainly we celebrities, corporate accounts, and even brands that no one's ever heard of getting the Twitter verification. At one point, I had 30 some odd thousand followers, but was still not verified. Now I'm gonna let you in on the big secret of how I actually got verified and the most common ways people end up getting verified. After I started at Vice, I still was not verified, and several prominent activists in the hacker community and on the left started making a stink about this, saying, if Twitter verification is just so that people can prove who they are, why is it that people who have a decently high profile, who are featured in magazines, etc., aren't getting verified? What is Twitter's qualification for verification? Now, Twitter claims verification is just so that individuals can prove who they are, but they also mention that it has to do with people who are of public interest, and that includes journalists. There are journalists who had only a few hundred followers working for, say, the Wall Street Journal, who were verified. And then there were independent journalists like myself who had 30,000 followers and were not verified. So to many people, Twitter's statements on the issue of verification were just not true. Well, here's the secret. After I started at Vice, I was talking to one of their social media people, and I said, how do you get verified? And you know what they told me? We just email them and tell them to do it. And sure enough, within 10 or 15 minutes, I was verified on most of the social media accounts that I had used at the time. That was it. That was the big secret. Many of these digital media companies, many of these ad buyers, people who work for companies or companies that have a decent following or social presence, can simply tell Twitter to verify people, and Twitter will. There is one other way that people end up getting verified, and that's through Twitter's natural verification selection process. Now, keep in mind, this is coming from an outsider's perspective, and there's a lot of stuff that goes on within Twitter as to how they verify people. So I can just give you my experience and the anecdotes that I've heard from other people who have been verified. There's a Twitter account called Verified Accounts, and it follows something around 200 and some odd thousand people. Usually, people who are verified randomly or authentically will be followed by this verified account's Twitter, and then shortly after they'll be prompted to go through a setup to become Twitter verified. I only got verified because someone at Vice told Twitter to do it. But within 6 months to a year, I was followed by the verified accounts. So it seems like the main way they do it is that the verified accounts will eventually follow someone if they discover you and decide to verify you, or a corporation tells them to do it. A lot of people seem to think that they can submit for verification and then Twitter will verify them, but for the most part that seems to not be true. I'm sure in some instances there are people who have submitted for verification and then gotten it. Honestly, I don't know any of these people. When we look at Twitter's statements following the Jared Kessler incident, we can see that many people have claimed to have submitted for verification and not been verified. Many of these people are well-known figures in their communities. So there seems to be no real rhyme or reason as to how Twitter verifies people. Now, Twitter released a statement following, the Kessler stuff about what verification really is supposed to mean. And what they said was, verification was meant to authenticate identity and voice, but it is interpreted as an endorsement or an indicator of importance. We recognize that we have created this confusion and need to resolve it. We have paused all general verifications while we work and will report back soon. Because Jason Kessler was verified, and because of the uproar, Twitter has suspended verification of Twitter accounts for the time being. And Twitter is trying to claim that verification isn't some kind of endorsement. Well, hold on, Twitter. There seems to be some confusion here. I remember Milo Yiannopoulos was verified on Twitter at one point, and they removed his verification. And Milo, in a childish fashion, went to the White House press briefing complaining about Twitter taking away his little blue checkmark. If Twitter is really about public interest or personality and proving authenticity, why isn't Julian Assange verified on Twitter? Julian Assange, the notorious publisher of WikiLeaks, has over 500,000 followers, but is not verified and will not be verified apparently. And there are many accounts imitating him to the T. So much so that people have fallen for fake tweets from fake Julian Assange accounts, thinking they're real. If anyone needs to be verified, it's Julian Assange. Now, I just want to ask, how is it that Jason Kessler gets verified before Julian Assange? Personally, I don't think verification is all that important, but it does create this vision, this image of importance and credibility. Absolutely, as I explained in the beginning of this video, without that blue checkmark, people didn't believe my reporting. So we have an internationally well-known figure, Julian Assange, not getting verified, and Jason Kessler, who has 13,000 followers, getting verified. My curiosity and minor moral outrage over this is not so much that Jason Kessler is a white nationalist who got verified, but that Twitter seems to have no rhyme or reason as to who or how they verify, but they know that verification is a mark of credibility, and they refuse to give it to people who probably need it more than others. I have another question. I don't understand why there's this moral outrage from the left over Jason Kessler getting verified when Richard Spencer is also verified. I guess you could say, Jason Kessler has tweeted some nasty things that probably violate the terms of service in some way. In which case, why isn't Keith Olbermann banned from Twitter? Because there's a meme that's been going around. I don't know if it's a meme, but it's a screenshot of a bunch of tweets from Keith Olbermann that are a violation of the terms of service. The things that Keith Olbermann said are so extreme, I suppose, that if I say them, this video will be demonetized. So I'm not going to say the things, but I will show a screenshot, which also might get me demonetized, which is a bit frustrating. Keith Olbermann is seemingly allowed to say all these things, retain verification, and not get in trouble, I suppose. We've seen people banned from Twitter. We've seen tweets deleted for much less. In fact, there are instances where people have tweeted homophobic slurs at me, which are not nearly as extreme as Keith Olbermann, and they have been banned. They've received suspensions. So, at the end of the day, what we see from these instances on Twitter and how verification works is that everything is selective. My personal opinion on all of this, it's simply that there's too much for any individual company or staff to deal with. Jason Kessler happened to be someone that was being followed by the right person at Twitter, and they said, yeah, this is actually that guy, so let's verify him so people know. which led to some outrage. And then, for whatever reason, they don't verify Julian Assange. I have no idea. For whatever reason, they de-verified Milo Yiannopoulos and then ultimately suspended him. I have no idea either. It seems to be political. And with Twitter announcing that they're going to stop verifications for the time being, it seems like Twitter is spinning in circles frantically, trying to figure out what is the right thing to do. And this is the future we are walking into, where hundreds of millions of people are using these platforms, but these companies only have a couple hundred employees, in which case all of the instances that need to be taken care of can't be because there's simply not enough people to do it, driving companies to look for machine learning and algorithmic solutions, which just lead to even crazier situations where, say, on Facebook, they have a bunch of fake news trending. We're between a rock and a hard place right now. And hopefully in the future, we'll have some solutions to this. But let me know what you think. Comment below. The topic of discussion for today is Twitter verification. I've got a little blue check mark. How important is it really? I think it's actually important, and I personally believe that Twitter has made this a mark of credibility. What do you think? Comment below and we'll keep the conversation going. If you want to support my work, go to timcast.com/donate. Give whatever you'd like or give nothing at all. My videos are always free and available every day at 4 p.m. Thank you all so much for watching. Stay tuned. New videos every day and breaking news and live streams from around the world. I will see you all tomorrow at 4.